Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Linners and Wosers episode. It's a special one where we talk about the Champions League round of 16 knockout stages. It's a discussion, reaction, and prediction. And I'm joined by a lovely group of people. I'm going to go ahead and show their familiar faces. I'm joined by Yvonne, Nick Rosser, and joining us here is Adam. Uh, and it's exciting. How are you fellas doing tonight?
Not too
Doing
bad.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Good,
Doing-
good. We have quite a bit to talk about between all the different matches. Some thoughts, some questions we want answered from the group stages. But before we go ahead and do that, I just want to go ahead and introduce you, Adam, to our listeners. Adam has made an appearance in a Linners and Losers video long, long ago. But he's joining us for the 2024 year. Linners and Losers is expanding. We are growing a business side coming to 2024. It's going to be a special announcement. I don't want to give away too much information on the steps that we're going to go ahead and take, but Adam will go ahead and be joining us on that regard. But we don't want to just bring on business people. Of course, we look for footy backgrounds, and Adam has a really exciting and we share a lot of memories in the footy background, I guess, playing in college together. But Adam, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. Share a little bit about who you are to our listeners, to our viewers.
Yeah, I played in high school, and then from there, I ended up playing with you and Nick in college, and from there, was able to join some Linners and Woosers, and I'm a big Liverpool fan, and um, yeah, it's been awesome. So I'm excited to join the team and be a part of all of this, and excited to talk about the Champions League tonight, and you know, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, excited to be part of the team with you guys.
And Adam, just a little bit about why you're joining us here at Linners and Losers. You went to a couple of hailstorm matches here. Just give us a little bit of your thoughts, of your feelings of going to a lower league game. I know you were there at the U.S. Open Cup match against the Colorado Rapids, so seeing that matchup there. Again, share a little bit to our listeners what lower league soccer grassroots means to you.
It's awesome, dude. To be able to be a part of a squad that's able to compete with some of these MLS squads, and just to see the USL League Two and all that start to grow and stuff like that, it's pretty fun. So I'm excited to see how Hailstorm does the rest of the year, and they did pretty well last year, but um, it's pretty cool to be able to be a part of Northern Colorado soccer and just watch soccer around America overall. So it's been pretty cool.
We know what type of fan Nick Rosser is at the games, especially after a few. So, can you go ahead and share with us your best moments at a game with any of us, or your favorite Rosser moment?
My favorite roster moment, or are you asking roster right now?
No, I'm just
I
asking
don't
you in
know. What's
general.
your
Your favorite,
favorite moment of us at a game?
yeah, yeah.
Like what's been a fun memory, something crazy.
I don't know. Just being a part of building the support squad for Hailstorm was pretty fun, and that's it's pretty huge to be able to be a part of the building of the the USL and all that. It's pretty special in my opinion. So
Yeah, dude, it was cool when we also got we got drinks with Eamon right before they asked us to create a supporters group. It was awesome to get you kind of involved in that side of the game, talking to a professional footballer that turned coach now, who's turned a program that's just started into a success, I would say. So
yeah,
yeah, it's been fun.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us again, Adam, today. We can't wait to go ahead and get your insight, your reaction, and your prediction um, to the Champions League round of 16 knockout stages. Before we go ahead and do that here, just want to go ahead and give a quick plug to a recent video we just went ahead and posted. It's up on YouTube now. It's the USL League One roundtable. episode 2, where Nick Rosser kind of led it with Rob from Talking Flock and John Hunt from Bluegrass Soccer Cast. They just went ahead and talked about the big topic in footy right now, which is that MLS has pulled out the first teams from the historic Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, so they will not be participating in 2024, but be sending their MLS Next Pro. So Nick, along with those two fellas, will go ahead and plug their channels, went ahead and shared their thoughts. Uh, you'd say it was a pretty good episode?
Yeah, I'd say it was a solid episode. I think we went into pretty good depth about some implication it has on pro league standards. Um, just kind of how MLS is being shady and trying to a little bit monopolize the game in the U.S. Um, but honestly, and we talked a little bit about Alexi Lawless's tweet saying the MLS should buy the USL and our take on that, and we just think it's totally against antitrust laws. So we went into good depth about the Open Cup. So I think it would be a good watch for you guys. Um, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun on a pretty horrible topic. We enjoy. We just enjoy. We're passionate about the game. It was fun.
You're being very calm, and it's funny you say you're very passionate about the game. I'm going to go ahead and share with everyone just how passionate Nick is and vocal about his opinion. And so here is Nick responding to ESPN's video this morning that was
For years and years, Hurt.
that Seb spoke out, but Nick, huge vocal on canceling your MLS season pass. So,
I said that the night before and got over at least 20 likes. So I'm gonna say it every single day until people do it.
but this is not a discussion for MLS US Open Cup. That discussion passed. We're actually here to, again, just talk about Champions League. Despite us repping some cool scarves, Hillstorm scarf, Colorado Switchbacks. Yvonne, we haven't heard much from you tonight. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us again.
I'm good. Very excited. Actually, America for Mexico. Those of you that are Liga MX
Yeah.
fan, America just won the 14th cup, the 14th title, and I'm an Americanista myself, so I'm very, very excited. I'm very happy for that, and I'm very excited to talk about Champions League, the greatest competition in world football, and no better than you guys to talk about it.
I have a quick
Hands
question,
down. Okay.
Ivan. I have a quick
Yes, sir.
question, Ivan. So if you win Clausura and Apertura, is that just one title, or are you like we're
Yeah,
two-time league champs?
it's one title.
So what do you determine as like this is 14th, but you just won it in December? Like I don't understand. I don't get. Explain to me a little bit why it's important that they won the 14th in
So
December.
right now we have the most titles in the whole Liga MX right now.
Okay.
But before 2002, we used to play long seasons, just like Europe. But the federation installed this Liguilla, which is like a mini championship after the season, when you get eliminated in the round of 16 and quarterfinals and semifinals. And yeah, that's how the format starts right now. And yeah, based on that, this is our 14th title.
Awesome. Dope.
Thank you for sharing. Yvonne, I want to go ahead and just touch on something you said there. Champions League, the greatest football competition in the world. Agree or disagree, guys? It's against the World Cup. He's saying that against the Premier League, I guess. FA Cup, Coppa Italia, Leagues Cup. Agree or disagree? The Champions League, the greatest footballing competition on the planet. For me, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say the World Cup. I think it's something special seeing your country come on top against all the other nations in the world, despite the Champions League. The Champions League is a great feat of its own. Someone's got to take first place, and for me, it's the World Cup.
I think you meant. I feel like you meant club.
Yes, of course. I mean,
Something about seeing Al Hilal against Seattle Sounders in February just excites me, you know.
No, but the Champions League. Wait, let's just let's get. I think we should get into this Champions League. I think we got
Yeah.
pretty
Let me
fun
go.
round of 16. The draw just happened. I think what was it? 1 week ago, last Monday. Was it last Monday
There
or
we
was it yesterday? I got the dates
December
confused.
18th. Sorry, excuse me.
So yeah,
I'm trying to
yesterday. My
zoom in
bad.
here.
I got other things confused, but yeah. So yeah, it came out yesterday. So what were your guys' initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts on the draws. Again,
Straight off
here's
the
the
bat,
draw there.
I'm gonna say that it has been, in my opinion, the most uneven matchups that I have seen in the last 5 years. I mean, we've seen Real Madrid have very easy rounds in the last 5 years, but this time everybody, like Arsenal against Porto. I mean, come on. And then the most even match to me is Napoli against Barcelona, and
Okay.
then Inter Atletico. But everything else, it seems like the teams that are supposed to be the biggest ones are got a little bit more benefited.
Yeah, I think if I have one sentence to say about the Champions League draw, I'd say City get easy draws every single year. So yeah, I think if I just thought that was my initial reaction. I didn't have much else to say about it. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm a Liverpool fan. I belong on Thursdays. But yeah, I thought just wow, City got another easy draw. That was just probably my initial one little reaction to the Champions League draw.
Adam?
Well, my opinion, one of the most fun games that we have is going to be Napoli Barcelona. We have a Lewandowski who's, he's not in form, but he does have a lot of experience. And we got a lot of young guys coming through Barcelona, so I'm a little bit excited to see how that goes for them. But truthfully, I think Napoli, they might be going through for those guys.
I want to
It's
go ahead and touch on a little bit. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh yeah, no, go for it.
I was just going to say I want to go ahead and touch on each point that all of you just went ahead and made. But before I go ahead and do that here, I just want to go ahead and share my thoughts. Maybe you guys agree or disagree, but something about these fixtures, I think it excites me in the way that teams will how teams will perform on the away fixture. For example, looking at Borussia Dortmund against PSV domestically doing really well in their league. Just having to think about either team traveling to play the opposition, that's an atmosphere of its own. Lazio, Bayern Munich, Inter, Atletico Madrid having to come to the San Siro, and then vice versa. Inter Milan having to go to the Metropolitan Stadium. I think it's super, super, super sweet to see just these fixtures and then how important just playing away it's going to mean for these teams. But starting with you, Ivan, you mentioned right away that you think this is uneven. Some of this leans favor on some of the heavyweights. I want to go ahead and ask you, on that topic here, specifically on Real Madrid.
Yes.
Real Madrid and Jude Bellingham, they looked really good in the group stages. Even in La Liga, Jude Bellingham, first half of the season, started off really well, scoring all the goals almost every match. Do you think this Madrid is the powerhouse, the team to beat in this competition, or are they going into these knockout stages as an underdog?
I mean, they've been missing players such as Courtois, Vinicius. Um, Now they're gonna miss Alaba with an ACL injury. They have been missing a lot of key players in their structure in Ancelotti's team, and they went with 18 points, 6 out of 6. The Madrid is never a team to be underestimated. Madrid can have, even with Joselu as their striking force, they can be they can have all the players that they can have a lot of missing players, but they're still going to be Madrid, and just the name of Madrid is going to mean something. And Madrid and Champions League are the monuments of success. So when you mix Champions League with Madrid, you're gonna see a lot of success, and I think this is not gonna be an exception. I think last year was a fluke, but with Bellingham in the form that he has, with Rodrigo in the form that he has, and with um, Madrid's experience and Ancelotti's
Mhm.
experience, they're gonna perform well.
All right, so although you mentioned the Courtois, injury, again, it sounds like Real Madrid, the team to beat, now going into this competition as underdogs, and you're saying they look a lot stronger than they did last year, and going in with some exciting form for Jude. Nick, you were saying?
I was gonna say, going off, you think last season was a fluke, but I argue Madrid's season the year before was a fluke. It's their comebacks were unheard of. They even got dominated in the final. I thought last season was kind of more of what was should have happened in those games. That's why they got outplayed by Manchester City when it actually came down to it. They weren't any different. I thought last season was more of like how it's going to be. I think the team to beat is Manchester City at the moment because they will get De Bruyne back by February. Holland will be healthy by February. The team will probably get informed by February based on their prem schedule, and they're still the best team in the world at the moment, like bar none.
Okay, so Nick is actually shifting, the question on the team to beat in this competition to Manchester City. Of course, Manchester City, you bring up that good point, once they go ahead and get into that team form in February, it's not unheard of where Manchester City goes 20 games unbeaten, 23 games unbeaten in that last stretch of the season. So we have Manchester City on one end, Real Madrid. I want to open it up, I guess, to you, Adam, because I was leaning towards Real Madrid. Real Madrid's going to be the team to beat in this competition. But your thoughts?
I mean, City being the reigning champs coming back again, they're going to have De Bruyne, who's going to be back, and then Holland again. I think, they're always going to be a hard team to compete against.
Of course.
Okay. Realistically, let's follow up to Manchester City. My next question, Nick, since you brought up Manchester City, do you think they have the squad depth or the capabilities to go ahead and do the double, repeat what they did last year?
I think we're looking at it's December right now, and we're not playing till what is it, third week of what's Manchester City's first game? Third week of February. So I just think they're gonna get the tools and pieces together, and um, I've seen it time and time again where they're gonna probably make a comeback in the Prem, go on a hot winning run, and now that they have Haaland and they have a taste of winning Europe, I think they're gonna absolutely gobble up Copenhagen, and teams are gonna be fearing going into City, going into them, because I think the only team you could argue would be Madrid, but I think City over the recent few years have had Madrid's number when you're looking at even before the season before that one, where City went through and had to face Chelsea in the final and fell short. Um, they beat Madrid that year. They lost to Madrid where they were up where they should have won. Benzema had a absolutely Ballon d'Or worthy performance in every single leg. Benzema was crazy. So I just think just City already they know what to expect from Madrid, and I think they know what to expect from every team. Um, I don't think there's a team in there that I'm Arteta maybe. I'm Arsenal's my dark horse. Arsenal's like my third team to win it, even over Bayern.
Nick, that actually leads up into my next question for you, Adam. Arsenal back in the knockout stages of the Champions League after not being here for years, let alone the competition itself. Do you think they have the squad to make the deep run?
Absolutely. I mean, I know they didn't win the Prem last year, but they could have won. And they're a contender this year, and they're confident. They got a deep squad, and I don't doubt that they're going to be able to compete with any of the teams that are in the draw this single year. So,
Yeah. Rico, your mic.
Sorry about that, guys. Oh yeah, I just wanted to move over to Ivan. Ivan, Arsenal, can they make the deep run?
You look at the team that they had last time they were in the Champions League. They had a team with Santi Cazorla, Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil. And you look at the team now, they're not as flashy, but they're a good team. They have a team that and that Arteta has made a very cohesive team that plays together. They play for each other, and they have been beating the odds defeating the odds in the Prem, and they certainly have the opportunity to do it against Porto, who's a very good team. Again, um, Arsenal having the Prem status, having the team that they have, having um, Gabriel Jesus on good form now, having Martinelli in good form, having Saka on good
Just
form.
have great form.
Those three are going to be lethal against Porto, I think.
Can I
And
bring up something too after your point?
yeah, go ahead.
Mhm.
But here's the thing: I think they're going to be like with Odegaard in the midfield, who's very underrated midfielder in my opinion. They're going to be very powerful, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I think they can do very well in the Champions League. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Absolutely. I feel like Arteta finally has the squad. It's only been recent where he's had Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz all in the starting lineup, and that front six has been very successful, scoring almost at will. Havertz is getting in on the action. I think Arteta's kind of piecing. That's why, as a Liverpool fan, I'm worried in the Prem right now because we're stacking injuries. They are starting, I feel like, to piece it together. Arsenal, and so, and with Declan Rice is my signing of the season for Premier League teams at the moment, and so I think just it's a strong lineup, and I think they're going to ease past Porto just with my Liverpool history, and I know Arsenal's just is really strong right now. And after I kind of really love these matchups because they kind of intrigue me when you're looking at club versus club specifically. I know we will go through each individual match, but I think it's gonna be intriguing, and I think Arsenal, a lot of good teams are actually gonna fall this first round, and it just depends on what side of the bracket you're after that. Honestly,
No, I totally agree with you. The games are intriguing looking at club for club. I'm telling you, the away fixtures, it's going to be so interesting on the players, the impact that's going to have. Just the fact that you have to go play against these teams that have massive stadiums, ultra fans. The atmosphere is, I think this round of 16 is something super exciting, probably one of the best rounds we've seen in a couple of years. But before we go ahead and jump in and into each individual fixture here, quick opening it up to everybody here. Which team biggest winner coming out of the group stage, and why is it Manchester City?
I
I mean,
mean not to dog on Copenhagen because they had a tough group and they fought their way to get that second place. Um, United were arguably they were tough at times and they were bad at times in the Champions League. Galatasaray probably was
yeah.
my team to get second place in that group, but Copenhagen snuck through with that result right at the end. So I think they're gonna give City some noise at home just for a little while. Like I think they can hold them off for a while
Are
at
they your
home.
biggest winner out of the group stages?
They're still my biggest winner because Copenhagen's definitely everyone was
I
praying for
mean, they had to
everyone was praying
play.
for Copenhagen.
They had to play against Bayern Munich in Germany. They had to go to Galatasaray. They had to go to Man United, and all three are Champions League DNA atmosphere. So it's good. It's a good shout. Adam, your thoughts? Biggest winner coming out of the group stages.
I mean, obviously City, but I'm going to be rooting for some of the underdogs. I think Real Sociedad, they
Nice.
might be an underdog. I think they might um, be able
My
to
team,
surpass
baby.
PSG and do some damage against them. So
Yeah, they had a fantastic group stage. Really, them and Inter picking up as many points as possible. I think they both were able to go ahead and they qualified for the Champions League stages with like 2 games remaining.
Yeah, I want to say something too about Sociedad. They have only lost 3 games in all competitions this season. It's been 2-1 to Real Madrid, it's been 2-1 to Atletico Madrid, and it's been 1-0 to Barcelona. The only 3 games they have lost have been in La Liga this year. They went undefeated in their group in the Champions League. They play good football. They grind out in La Liga. They have what? I think they have 8 wins, 6 ties, 3 losses. So they grind. They're not going to be an easy team to beat, and I don't think PSG were that impressive in their group. Even that they had a strong group, but I don't think they didn't seem like dogs in every game. Like PSG is still, I think, a project that's being worked on, and I think Sociedad just played really good football right now.
Yvonne?
I think yes, City, but also Sociedad. I'm going to agree with that. I think Sociedad has nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose. I think that it's going to be a lot of burnout from PSG and Project Mbappe. I think Mbappe has a lot of pressure on him because they have had a lot of time to finally get to that Champions League title, but they haven't been able to. Um, and it's just very. I mean, Sociedad has been playing really good football, as you said. Or Yarzabal,
Or
or
Yarzabal,
Yarzabal has been on fire this season. Uh,
Kubo.
Merino,
Kubo as well, yeah.
Merino has been a really good midfielder. Another among them. I think that they have nothing to lose, and they're gonna be playing their good football. I think PSG is under a lot of pressure, but I think Dortmund as well. I think Dortmund is not a team to be taken lightly because they did really well against very tough teams, against Newcastle, who's been really playing good, against PSG, who has Mbappe and Dembele. I think uh, with Royce, with Brandt,
Ooh,
and
Dembele.
and those teams, I think Dortmund has a lot of to give as well.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and switch it up now, guys, to biggest loser coming out of the group stages, and I'll kick us off. No doubt, for me, Manchester United, and it's simple. Manchester United, a team with that pedigree in the Champions League, a lot of expectations. Eric Ten Hag, um, the players, quality of players that they have. Rasmus actually getting Champions League goals, unable to do it in the Premier League, but the expectations were so high for Manchester United, and I think just the amount of goals that they conceded, the football that they played, just overall was horrific. And so for me, they get the biggest loser, not one of the other teams that lost most of their matches, like Royal Antwerp or something like that. So, um, anybody else
Um,
feel like Manchester United?
I think it's a good shout because they got last in their group. But I think
It's not even about just getting last. I think it's just not being able to qualify for the knockout stages.
I agree. I would say also Sevilla coming up as how I mean they're doing poor in league, but they're represented as a champion, and they're not even getting to
The Europa
their
League.
own Europa League. Um, it's just a very off season for them as well. They're struggling in their own domestic campaign. So I think Sevilla is also one of those biggest losers, not even getting into their competition where they thrive, where they turn up the magic. So I think both of those are argue with.
Yvonne?
I'm I'm gonna go with Feyenoord, a team that I expected a lot more from because they have Santi Jimenez, they have Paixão, they have uh very another their midfielder, their cam. I quite don't remember his name, but that's a team that I expected a lot from. They didn't have a really strong team, a really strong group. They had Sociedad in there, if I'm not mistaken. They also had Celtic, and Celtic beat them in the last in one of those encounters.
Yeah,
No, no,
Atletico
no,
as
no.
well, though.
They had
Oh,
Lazio, Atletico, Feyenoord,
Celtic.
and
Celtic,
Celtic. No
yes,
Royal, not Real Sociedad.
not
But
Real
that's
Sociedad.
such a hard group for them. I mean,
But
Lazio and Atletico Madrid.
they're doing good in Eredivisie, but they couldn't quite quantify that into the Champions League. So I was expecting a lot more from them. I was expecting more a lot from a team that plays really well in
Yeah.
Eredivisie. So I think they're the biggest losers as well as Sevilla, as a lot of another team that I expected for a lot more from. That I thought we are gonna qualify to Europa League. They couldn't do that either.
The first matchup between Feyenoord and Atletico Madrid was really exciting to watch. Probably one of the best Champions League games because Feyenoord played so good,
Mhm.
but Atletico Madrid needed to be perfect in order to come out with the win there. Adam, your biggest loser of the group.
maybe Galatasaray. There was a couple teams, but I mean, it's going to make Europa definitely interesting. So
Yeah.
So I guess we all held these teams to pretty high standards there. Not even making their, I guess, respected historic competitions. Pretty disappointing. Galatasaray, Sevilla, Manchester United, Feyenoord. But that will go ahead and just summarize, I guess, some of our quick discussion, initial reactions on the Champions League knockout stages and the group stages. I'm going to go ahead and now open up the floor for us to go ahead and just talk about each game individually, just share our thoughts, our prediction. I know we already shared a little bit about that here, but as I go ahead and put us all back together, guys, the first match we're going to go ahead and talk about is the Porto versus Arsenal matchup here. And I want to actually go ahead and give a quick shout out here to the Gunner outlet. Again, we launched the outlets here at the Q4 of 2023. They are small niche communities for you to go ahead and follow and keep up to date with everything related to your favorite football club. And so, as Arsenal, they are in the round of 16, the knockout stages of this competition. Just going to go ahead and give a quick plug for them. This is a post just earlier today here, looking at Arsenal's goal and assist leaders in the Premier League this season. Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, just Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Rice, Nikitia, just some of the players that the fellas mentioned earlier that are going to be crucial and need to go ahead and step up for Arsenal to go ahead and have that deep run in the Champions League. Talking about the man himself, Kai Havertz, pretty good form lately. Scored 3 goals in his last 6 matches for Arsenal. But that was a quick plug about the Gunners outlet. Let's talk about this matchup here, Porto versus Arsenal. Ivan, earlier you mentioned unbalance. Does this matchup fit your criteria of unbalanced?
I think both play really good football. I mean, you have a legend in there with experience in Pepe with Porto. You have a player that has been on fire who's young, the Brazilian. I'm forgetting his name. The striker from Porto. Um,
Evan
Adam Nielsen.
Nielsen. Yes,
Huh?
Evan Nielsen.
Evan Nielsen, who has been on fire lately. Um, I think they're going to be a tough team for Arsenal to beat. But Arsenal, they're going to have the edge. I think when you have Rice and Odegaard and Saka and Martin, those are big names in football. Jesus, they're going to struggle. They're not going to struggle against Porto, but Porto is a good team nevertheless. So, but I anticipate Arsenal would get past them
Okay,
quite.
I'm just writing down here our predictions here. Um, you said Arsenal is getting past here, huh?
Yes.
Well,
Or
let's also shoot
no way.
a, a score prediction too.
I hate doing score predictions due to the fact that we lost Adam. He'll go ahead and rejoin us here in a moment.
Oh, I
I
guess
hate,
yeah. It's so far away.
yeah, and plus the second game is so like all depends on the first game, you know.
Yeah.
I think like I could say 2-1 right now, and then the first game is 2-1, but it's not gonna be 0-0 the second leg. You know, kind of thing. It's all gonna be different. But a good shout. Arsenal for Yvonne.
I will say
Yvonne.
too. Expect a very defensive game from Porto in the first game. You're gonna play.
Nick?
You're gonna play in Dragao, if I'm not mistaken, first, and they do well in Dragao Stadium. They do well in their home, and Portugal teams are very good at defending. That's something that they're very good at. And Arsenal may struggle in Portugal, but they're gonna do very well at Emirates. So we're gonna see a very defensive game, the first game.
I think I think Arsenal's definitely got the edge in this game. I think they got the payroll. They got the big names like Ivan was mentioning. Um, you're looking at Evan Nielsen having form, but I think they also need Meditarimi to get into form. Right now he's only got, if I'm not mistaken, only 4 league goals, which is a little bit of a slow campaign for him. His performances are there, but I think if they want to get past the Arsenal hump, he needs to be scoring some goals and getting in better form. Yes, it's still 2 months away, but right now I'm just not seeing a way in for Porto, especially when they go to the Emirates. I could see a big scoreline from Arsenal, they're starting to turn up right now. So
think we all are on agreement here. Just gonna go ahead and put down our picks here. Arsenal. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with almost every reason that you guys went ahead and mentioned from the big names. I'm gonna go ahead and add on to you, Nick. I think Arsenal, when they go ahead and pick up the form, they're gonna be excellent, and even on the away fixture, they're gonna go ahead and play really good football and not squeeze through, but pre- pretty dominantly go through. I think this one we're all leaning towards the Arsenal victory. Well, we go ahead and get wow, perfect timing.
Perfect timing. You're back.
I don't know.
Perfect.
We
No
just
worries.
finished Rico, Ivan, and I, and Rico, Ivan, and I's prediction for Arsenal, Porto, who's going to go through, and then now, what's your prediction, Arsenal, Porto?
Arsenal, let's fucking get it.
For
Looks like
so
we're all in
a
agreement.
little bit. Give a little bit of reason why. Why do you think Arsenal? I went with just because you weren't in here. Ivan said because they got kind of bigger names. Porto's going to be a little bit. They got some good players in form, but they're
They're
probably
all
going to
in
play
form, man.
defensive.
We got some good players. They're confident. I mean, they're competing for top of the Prem right now. So, I mean, they're confident going into Champions League. And, I mean, not almost being able to win the Prem last year, but, feeling confident being able to be at the top of the table this year. I think going into this competition, I think they're going to be definitely a team to fear. So,
Here's my one caveat for the whole thing. So last year, Arsenal played Benfica in the Europa League, and it took a 90 plus minute second leg goal for Arsenal to advance. So the only thing that's going against Arsenal versus their talent is the experience. Is that they haven't been in the Champions League since BR Football has made that Champions League mansion cartoon. You know what I mean? This is Arsenal's first year in that cartoon, legitly. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing holding Arsenal down is that experience. So I can see Arsenal going far. I see them going through Porto. I see them still having a chance to win. But I think the only thing that's lacking is experience, Champions League experience from their players. But they do seem hungry. And they're very talented. And Gabriel Jesus, for example, has really good form in the Champions League versus, let's say, Prem. But he turns up in that game that really matters. That's something I like about Gabriel Jesus and the something that Arsenal has going for.
I want to go ahead and move on to this matchup. Probably has a lot of mixed opinions for people. We could see a first uh, underdog beating of a overdog. What's the word? Underdog against favorite, I guess. PSG, Real Sociedad. You know, PSG with the names that you guys mentioned, like Mbappe, Koulibaly, their back line, Marquinhos, Lucas Hernandez, Skriniar, Donnarumma, coached by Luis Enrique against a very exciting football style of Real Sociedad, who did fantastic in the group stage. Again, this matchup, I think, has a lot of people on mixed opinion. I don't think a lot of people are leaning, as you might think, if you're just a noob football fan, towards just PSG. I think a lot of people are leaning towards Real Sociedad. This one, this one is, this one's going to be interesting. I think for me, PSG is going to have an edge. I think there's going to be a moment. There could be a moment in the game, a moment in one of the two games where PSG just explodes, and the guys that we mentioned, like Kylian Mbappe, Koulibaly, Marco Sensi, that moment to go ahead and not only just score one goal, but PSG can go ahead and score three goals out of nowhere, and that could go ahead and just be enough to take over against Real Sociedad. Again, that PSG defense, some big experience players in the back. And so if they come to fruition and in sync, that back line can go ahead and hold off this attack in football. But
My issue,
I don't
my
know.
issue
Somebody
though,
else, yeah.
my issue though is PSG just don't play in easily as a competitive league as Real Sociedad, where every game they have to grind it out. So I think where PSG always lacks in the Champions League, where you always see them fall, is that they don't have that competition that they other teams do, and you watch them take leads, but you also watch PSG
Hmm.
blow leads. You watch them crash and burn at the same time. This is the moments where you see Donnarumma make mistakes. You see this experienced back line are also right now having. I, I if it's not Mbappe taking them to glory right now, I'm not seeing it because right now
Mm.
Colomboani's not scoring. They just re-signed or they just signed Gonzalo Ramos for how long? Starting in I don't even
65.
know, man. Yeah, so he's not really scoring. Dembele, I have my reservations. All right, I I don't think he's
Ambulance.
I don't think he's quality. I don't see it. You see flashes, you'll never see it on a consistent basis. Um, and it just, I mean, I just see Real Sociedad with the season they're having, and they have real talented players. They're obvious. They're gonna make the big moves this next year to the large European clubs. They're not gonna. They probably won't last forever. We saw it with Malaga in
Hmm.
what was that 2012,
Hmm.
2013.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just think you're gonna see these players move on to better clubs as well, and it's just gonna be it's just gonna their talent's gonna explode on the field versus this team. You're gonna see someone like Kubo light it up and actually display himself in front of the world. Someone as talented as Kubo. So I just think I'm gonna give the edge to Sociedad because they actually play competitive fixtures. They actually play good football. I'm not convinced on PSG's football, whether they
Nick,
have the stars or not.
real quick, yes or no? Just yes or no. Are they the
Sociedad.
competition's underdog?
Who?
Sociedad,
No.
the black
They're the
horse,
dark horse. Dark
the dark
horse.
horse.
Underdog would probably be Copenhagen.
Mhm.
But yeah, dark horse for sure.
Adam, your thoughts on this game?
I mean, like Nick had mentioned, they're having a great season and they got a lot of great players and they're able to possess the ball well. Um, Going up against a big name like PSG, I think, they kind of are a little bit of an underdog and a dark horse, but I really hope to see them go through. So,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yvonne,
putting,
I think you mentioned earlier that
Yes, I anticipate that
the
Sociedad
pressure.
Sociedad and Newcastle have a very similar play style, in my opinion. They have very explosive left wings, right wings with Kubo and Oyarzabal, and we saw how they struggle against Anthony Gordon and Almiron with in the midfield that they have with Merino being very very vital in that midfield position, and they struggled big time against Newcastle. They lost to Newcastle 3-0, if we remember. Um, and I don't see the defense from PSG being that strong defense that they need. I think Lucas Hernandez will struggle a little bit, and Marquinhos is not as good as he used to be. And again, Donnarumma has been a liability for PSG. I think I see Sociedad struggling, but I think they're gonna be beating PSG. And there's only so much that Mbappe can do alone.
I got your picks down here, your predictions. Three for Real Sociedad, one for PSG. Now, moving on, probably the most overlooked game for neutrals, but an exciting one. PSV against Dortmund. Nick,
So I'll start off. Yeah. PSV is by far the best team I've seen in the Eredivisie since that Ajax team that took on Tottenham in the final or the semis. This team is absolutely blowing away all their competition in every match, and so I don't think it's going to be an easy match for Dortmund. I see Dortmund. Dortmund aren't the team right now in the Bundesliga challenging. It's Leverkusen. You see Stuttgart right behind. You see Dortmund kind of getting results right now, but I'm not convinced in Edin Terzic with his selections, with everything going on, and I just don't think they. I don't think Dortmund has the quality. I actually have PSV. You're gonna see a really tight game. You're gonna see a really tight game, but I think, um, I probably still have Dortmund going through, but it mostly depends on that away PSV game or which PSV show up that day.
hmm,
Are they going to be the confident Eredivisie PSV we've seen, that got through in this Champions League group, or are they going to be, a little bit timid being at the stage that they haven't been at in quite a while? I'm curious.
Nick, I want to go ahead and actually bring up something you mentioned. You're not happy with the selections that head coach Terzic makes for Dortmund. Share a little bit why. Keep it unbiased.
Why? Well, I'll start with my U.S. men's national team player. Um, Gio Reyna won them the most points coming off the bench from last season. He was, and I think he's absolutely underappreciated at Dortmund, and I'm glad he's probably going to make his move this, maybe even February. Not even sure. But I also just don't. I see you see too many changes in the lineups within Dortmund's lineups this season.
Hmm.
They can't tell which forwards to put in. They don't know if they want to give Mukoko minutes or they want to keep Fulkrug, who's not actually scoring as much as they'd like, up top. They're switching between wingers like Royce, Malin, and Bino Gittins too often. There needs to be more of like there's not a solid lineup within Dortmund. It's more of
Set
like
11, yeah.
not a set 11. It's always being rotated, and I don't think it's giving enough players. And you can see it in their league performances. I don't even think they played too well. They were a Sule clearance, I think, away from being eliminated even from Champions League contention. They were close to not even making it with Milan going through.
What's your pick?
Um, my pick for this one, I said Dortmund.
After we just got done dogging on them.
Well, I mentioned earlier that I still think like Dortmund's gonna be
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna be close and tight, but Dortmund's gonna be strong still.
I'm
But
gonna agree with you. The only reason I think I have Dortmund over, I think they just have a little bit of that edge on just the quality of players, and it really just depends on the away fixture. When I mentioned earlier, what makes this competition really intriguing is just how the teams are going to go ahead and perform on the away games, and I think this one stood out to me right away. How PSV is going to go ahead and handle being playing in Dortmund against the big yellow Dortmund wall, and then vice versa, Dortmund going over to PSV, who domestically in the league have been phenomenal, even in this competition. Took handful of us by surprise. So this game is a lot closer than it looks, but I am going to go ahead and give Dortmund the edge just for this round here, crushing PSV hearts.
I'm gonna say PSV, and I'm gonna say this because of the young talent that they have with the mix that of the experience. They have Luke De Jong, but they also have players as explosive as Xavi Simons
Johan
and
Bukirko.
someone that I have my doubts on, but has can be explosive at time. Chucky Lozano. Um, I think with the Dutch way of playing, I think they can do their
Missing
part.
anybody?
You're
And
You
missing someone.
you missing some people? Anybody you're missing?
Anyone you missing? Right back.
I'll give you three chances.
oh, and
Midfield.
I'll give you
yes,
three chances.
Serginho Dest, who's I think one of the most undisciplined players that I have seen, but a quality player, nevertheless. Yes,
Okay,
I'll
but
say that.
the better
But
one.
I'll say that. But I think that they have what it takes to beat Dortmund, who I think Dortmund has not. Yes, they're a good team, but I don't think they're as disciplined as people might think tactically.
Sure.
I think
Adam?
that PSV
Okay.
will take the edge. So slightly, but they will win.
Quick shout outs to our Americans: Pepe, Des, Tillman. Pepe's a monster off the bench for PSV, so it's also a good shout. He's a capable forward of scoring, and Tillman's probably gonna make a big move from the Eredivisie this year after his quality performances at PSV as well.
Pepe's goal
Adam,
got him into the stage.
I mean, as
absolutely.
far as quality of players, you're not going to go with Dortmund, and they're probably pretty confident. I mean, going into their last game of the season last year, they probably should have won the league, but they're confident coming into the Champions League here, and I think as far as experience goes and their quality players, I got to pick Dortmund.
Sweet.
Next, probably a quick round. does anyone really think that Copenhagen can go ahead and do the double and take down both Manchester teams?
The most I could see is a draw in Denmark, but they're gonna get. I think they're gonna get blown away
Getting
that
battered.
in Etihad in front of their 70 fans.
Pep's smoking a cigar right now. You know he is.
Nick, you
Yeah.
mentioned that Manchester City always gets easy draws.
Like I want to give Copenhagen the credit for the group they got out of. It was a tough group, but it, everyone was licking their lips for Copenhagen in that draw. If you finished first, you know, everyone wanted them. They're easily the David versus the Goliath. So I 5-1 aggregate. I can probably say that one right now. Honestly, I could see Copenhagen maybe sneaking a goal the same way City got chipped on this earlier this year. Who was that? That was a nice one. Club Bruges.
Hmm.
So if you could see like a performance like Club Bruges in some of those games, they held them off for as long as they could, but City find a way. It's gonna be easy. City through.
Again, Haaland, De Bruyne back. Form Jack Grealish is on. Jeremy Doku's so good on the ball. Julian Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, just that team stack. I want to move on probably to, in my opinion, guys, biggest shit show,
Yeah.
Napoli versus Barcelona.
This
I
one could,
this should be the Europa League final, in my opinion.
based on this season's form, I absolutely.
I don't even like Barcelona is so weak defensively, but Napoli is just so not convincing offensively that I think the only way either team goes through is just one team just absolutely just I don't know poops the bed. I just it's just such a bad game. I can't give the edge to Barcelona. I want to give the edge to Napoli. I think they are going to have a more at the end of the day lethal attack. I think at home and away they could go ahead and get a goal, and I don't think Barcelona can go ahead and get more than one goal at most this whole tie. It's just all around. I think Barcelona it's not convincing enough. I think that group they had was probably a little bit above their weight, but Porto was still a good team that they faced. Shakhtar as well, and I think they lost to Shakhtar
And they
1-0
lost
one
to
of the
Antwerp.
matches. Yeah, so not convincing enough. I think any of the other teams that would have beaten Barcelona easily. I just think this Napoli team is also just not convincing under Mazzari. But Osimhen, Kvara, really good players, and so I'm gonna give Napoli the edge, guys.
Adam,
Well, like I mentioned earlier, you got players like Lewandowski who have a lot of experience in the Champions League, but he's not in form right now. And you look at his, how he played against Valencia and some of his last games, and getting pulled early, and it just makes me think that Napoli definitely has an edge on Barcelona this year.
I'm gonna go shoot. Shoot, should I be that guy? Um, I'm gonna go Napoli. I think Barcelona. If Lewandowski can get in form, he's so dangerous and he can actually connect with some of these passes. But right now, nobody's convincing. Um, Joao Felix only has 3 goals in 14 games this year. Um, the 16-year-old kid is great, but he's not gonna like. Come on, we're not expecting this kid to actually
Oh, yeah.
like. Come on. Um, I don't. Ferran Torres is a great player, but not like he's not a Champions League. Like he's not that guy to send him through. They are weak defensively. They lost to Shakhtar. Even their wins aren't convincing in the Champions League. They're not winning in the league. You're watching them tie games. Um, they
That
absolutely got blown away at home by Girona, who's in form, obviously in form. But that
hmm
was their game to get back in the title race, and they absolutely bottled it. They had to win at home against Girona to get some more points. I think they would be within 4 of Madrid, and now they're almost completely out of it. So I'm gonna give, even though Napoli is struggling this year and their tactics haven't been great, and they even struggled in the Champions League. I think Osimhen and just the quality of players are just greater on Napoli this year, and I think they're gonna go through. Probably, I like to throw aggregates out there because I can almost envision them, even though they're 2 months out. But I could see like a 3-1 Napoli.
I guess again, that's just a big word I think to describe Barcelona right now this season. They're just not convincing enough
Yep.
for us to go ahead and be confident behind their victory. Um, but again, they are a team in the knockout stages, so you guessed it, another plug, and it's the Blaugrana outlet. Blaugrana, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the best source for all things related to FC Barcelona. As we mentioned, as Nick just mentioned, Yao Felix for Barcelona in La Liga this season, 14 appearances, 3 goals, 2 assists. Are you pleased with his output so far this season? So let us know in the comments. Sad Xavi. We're going to see this again. But Ivan,
I
do you
think
have anything different to say, or are you on the same boat with us?
I think this game can be defined in three factors: history, Xavi, and Osimhen. Okay, history. Why? Because while Barcelona has been victorious against Italian teams, they usually struggle against Italian teams. They have struggled against Inter in past Champions League. They have struggled against Juventus in past Champions League, and they're gonna struggle against not Napoli. And Napoli has players that are Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, who are big players, and they can at any given time dominate and give a goal and sentence a game to the end. And Xavi, he's just not experienced. He chokes on big moments, and he hasn't shown he has the personality to coach Barcelona. He hasn't shown that he has the potential to make big changes and change a team scheme, a team's tactics. And so I'm gonna give the edge to Napoli, and I'm gonna give the edge to Napoli comfortably, and I'm gonna agree with Nick 3-1.
Does Barcelona sack a club legend like Xavi?
It depends on how the Liga goes.
Depends on how the league goes. Just to put it in perspective, Chelsea, no issue telling Frank Lampard twice to get out of there.
I mean,
And Chelsea's 10th or whatever.
if Xavi goes, another Barcelona legend is lined up to coach, which is Rafael Marquez. So we'll see.
Well, we'll go ahead and move on to another fixture here. Probably one of the closer fixtures. I'm not sure if you see an uneven matchup in this one here. Inter versus Atletico Madrid. Simone Inzaghi against Diego Simeone. What a matchup. Again, this is one of those away fixture matchups that I was talking about. Inter playing at the Metropolitano at the Atletico Madrid Stadium. Atletico playing at the San Siro Inter Stadium. Uh, very
I'm
difficult.
gonna I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna start this one off. I think this one's more of my um. I have Inter going through, and I see Inter going through because Inter's gonna probably get in form and walk Serie A this year. Um, and I also believe Atletico Madrid lacks discipline in the defense. They lack discipline within their tactics this year. You could see it. They struggled for the most part in the away matches this Champions League. They struggled even against Celtic, who I'm sorry, but the Scottish League is not like the 1960s where it was in its glory day. It's weak, and that you still watch them struggle. You watch them get red cards in La Liga this season. You watch them get red cards in um, Champions League this season. It was like watching Hailstorm, not this year, but the year before. That you could see the discipline not there. I think Inter's hitting form, and they're gonna hit form at the right time. And I think this is actually gonna be, and they're gonna continue that form from last season's Champions League Inter, and they're gonna probably, I think they're gonna actually, it's gonna be easier than we imagine for Inter Milan.
Ivan?
I think it's very hard to say because you have a player of the pedigree of Antoine Griezmann with Atletico who has been a very vital player in this season for Atletico. But yeah, when you have players like Iniguez, Saul Iniguez, who's a little bit undisciplined, but you have a player that's so effective in also scoring goals with Mario Hermoso. Um, I think I'm still gonna give the edge to Atletico. I think they're gonna rein it in, hopefully. And I think I trust Simeone. I trust Simeone that they're gonna go far. Um, but Inter, they were finalists last year. They were finalists for a reason. They practically have the same team. And Lautaro is a beast. Lautaro is a beast in his own right. But I think I'm gonna give the edge to Atletico.
Adam, your thoughts?
I'm gonna agree with Nick on this one. Even with Griezmann, we still have an undisciplined Atletico Madrid, and I'm gonna have to go with Inter on this one.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump on the bandwagon with you guys and say Inter for my pick as well. As the biggest Inter fan here, although
As the
Serie A,
biggest Inter fan.
yes, the biggest. I love Inter so much. I bleed blue and black. Inter since day one. Let me tell you. Um, no, Serie A teams do is historically in the most in the recent past have struggled against La Liga teams in this competition, but we're seeing an Inter team that is so strong. Simone Inzaghi's system, I think, got even stronger from last year. I think it got better from the Champions League final, and this Inter team has so much potential to walk over this Atletico Madrid side that the fellas mentioned is undisciplined. Although they have Antoine Griezmann and Alvaro Morata, by the way, who are joint,
Inform.
yeah, in form and with top scorers for the Champions League right now. Inter has a very solid system, formation, and players in every position. I don't think Inter has a weakness in any of the positions, from goalkeeper, left back, right wing back. Uh, you know, Darmian and DiMarco on the wings are absolutely workhorses, both offensively and defensively. Their defense with Acerbi and Bastoni right now, as well in their midfield, Nicolo Barella. I'm gassing up Inter. I'm telling you guys, I'm their biggest fan. So I'm giving Inter the edge on this game. And I do see them having a deep run here. But
We
let's
need to
move
clip
on.
that.
Ivan, you're the only Atletico fan.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the only one who voted for Atletico here. Moving on, another Serie A team, this time
We need
facing
that.
off FC Bayern. Lazio against FC Bayern. Um,
Adam, you start us off with this one.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm gonna have to go with Bayern. I mean, they have so much experience, and Lazio, they haven't been that great this year. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Bayern is definitely going through on this one.
I'm going to go ahead and follow up and agree with you. Bayern have a really good, solid players. Harry Kane is phenomenal. This year, he's bagging goals for Bayern Munich. Although I don't think Tuchel is very exciting and is bringing out the best out of this Bayern Munich. This Bayern Munich we know that scores a handful of goals each game. I think they just have a stronger edge against Sarri's Lazio, who in the league has been pretty poor. And I think we've seen it historically in the Champions League. Bayern Munich take advantage of those games against Lazio. So put me there for Bayern Munich as well.
I put me there as well. I think Lazio's really struggled this year in comparison to previous years. Um, Obviously Bayern, they got their faults. You watched it in that five, what was it, 5-0,
I won.
Yeah,
five
5-0.
one, to Frankfurt or whoever, and they're not even leading the league for Bundesliga. So you obviously see the faults in Bayern this year, but Lazio have just greater faults, and they don't have
Yeah.
Harry Kane. Harry Kane has absolutely. I think he's exceeded my expectations almost at Bayern. I thought he
Yeah.
would hit the ground running, but not like this crazy. He's got 20 goals in the Bundesliga in 14 games. If one of you guys can bring up his Champions League goals, I know he's definitely stacked up quite a few there.
You want me to
Um,
bring up his goals? What did you say? What is that time? You guessed it. Boom, outlet time. And we have the Mia San Mia outlet here. All things related, best news, stats, information about Bayern Munich And just what you were looking for. Look at that. Harry Kane has now scored 20 goals in 14 Bundesliga appearances while also tacking on 5 assists this year. A man absolutely killing it for the Bundesliga. Here's again, they're in the knockout stages. We got an outlet for those teams, guys. Make sure to go ahead and follow the Mia San Mia outlet if you're a Bayern Munich fan. And Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry. It's a perfect moment to plug.
Oh no, perfect. I just got Bayern. Like it's not going to be close, personally for me. Um, they're going to be too strong in Germany. Lazio will pull up a fight in in Italy, but I think the German side, like the German tie, is going to be too strong. Bayern's going to come out on fire.
Vaughn, you
I
joining
would,
us?
I would love to. I would love to root for Lazio. I would love to, but I just can't. Hurricane. You got Sane. You have Kim
Coman's
Min
in
Jae.
form.
Kim Min Jae in the defense. You got an aging Neuer who's still Neuer. You got Tuchel who's still a really good coach. I mean, Sarri is like a really good coach. Immobile is a really good player, but they're just not Bayern. Bayern is just that German workforce, the German uh, power that you expect in a German team. I think they're gonna have a field day with Lazio.
I'm glad we're all in agreement here on the Lazio FC Bayern matchup here. All of us predicting FC Bayern to go ahead and go through. And before we go ahead and move on to the last matchup, just want to go ahead and give a special shout out. And if you disagree with me, you don't know ball. But Lazio has probably one of the most decorated players in footy history, an
But
underdog living legend, someone who's won the Champions League, La Liga, Premier League, multiple Champions League, and
Jason
that's
Rodriguez.
yes, sir. Absolutely fantastic here, an awesome player. Just want to go ahead and give flowers where it's due. Somebody of his caliber is still playing in the Champions League. And I know, Ivan, you mentioned, Pepe at Porto, and that's fantastic as it is. But I think Pedro is one of the most undervalued players in footy history, so I want to give him the flowers there. But I want to move on to the last matchup here. Uh, nice, good one here. RB Leipzig versus Real Madrid. And I promise you guys, I promise you, it's the last one. Last one. It's the Merengues outlet here, the best source of information, stats, history, anything related to Real Madrid. As you could see, the last starting 11 here featuring Rodrigo here, your favorite multinational Brazilian Pakistani, as the memes will show. But, um, again, Jude Bellingham, 16 goals and 4 assists in the last 18 games this season for Real Madrid, as they went ahead and beat Real Betis there 1-0 back in December 9th. But that will go ahead and complete literally all of the outlets that we have in the Champions League knockout rounds. That doesn't mean that's all the outlets that we have. You can go ahead and check out on our website on the outlets page all of the different outlets that we have. Follow them on Twitter and enjoy all the news and information I got about your team. But RB Leipzig versus Real Madrid with the biggest Real Madrid hater, Ivan, let us know.
I think when you talk about Madrid and you talk about Champions League, you talk about success, you talk about championships, you talk about history. You're talking like Jose Mourinho will say, football heritage. Champions League, Real Madrid, they're the same. Um, you have a team that's up and coming that has really good players with Timo Werner and Luis Openda. Forsberg, who's a really good player, who's going to the MLS this season, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he just played his last game or one more.
Right. And so they have a really good team, but they're not Real Madrid. I'm sorry. I just cannot overstate how much Real Madrid means to Champions League. You have Jude Bellingham, who's, I think, the best player in the world right now. You got the best Brazilian at the moment right now, Rodrigo. You're going to have Modric, who's still an experienced player. Aging, but experienced. Cross. Joselu, who's who can be effective. He's not the best striker right now, but he's effective. Um, I mean, what else can I say? You have Lunin, who's playing really well in the substitute position for the goalkeeper position. Nacho Fernandez. I mean, wherever, and then you have a mastermind of Ancelotti in the coaching position, in the coaching as a coach. And it's just, I feel bad for Leipzig. I feel bad for anyone that has to play Real Madrid in Champions League.
And just want to say that wasn't a paid ad by Real Madrid. Real Madrid did not pay Ivan to say all of that. Those are actually his thoughts as the biggest hater of Real Madrid. But
I'm gonna
Nick,
let me go in here. Real Madrid's gonna Real Madrid is Real Madrid. As much as poor as I think, I don't think their team is actually as strong as it is, and they still do not lose games. They went undefeated in their group. They just do not let up when it comes to the Champions League. And as poor as they are, I can even watch it as a Liverpool fan. I've watched Real Madrid be poor in a final, and they still do not lose. So when you're talking about this particular matchup with Real Madrid, we're not talking Real Madrid versus City later. When you're talking to this particular matchup, as strong as Leipzig have been and really good, decent form they're in, they're just not strong enough to overcome the merengues of Madrid. So
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go ahead and open up the floor to Adam here. I forgot he's a Liverpool fan, and Real Madrid, still gives him nightmares. Those two finals, Gareth Bale, bicycle kick. I get it. I get it. Um, Nick has nightmares about it too. Calls me in the middle of the night and goes, "I saw Bale in my dream." I'm like, "Bro, go to sleep." But I'm gonna go ahead and
I
share the
see
same.
Carius. I see Carius in my sleep, bro.
Benzema. But I'm going to share the same sentiment as the fellas here. This is Real Madrid in the Champions League, and they still have veterans in the team that are producing at the highest level, and they're youngsters that are coming through. Not only are they promising, but they are excellent. They are fantastic, informed players like Rodrigo Vini, Jude Bellingham, and as Ivan mentioned earlier in the podcast, they have the depth and the ability and the technical ability to go ahead and throw in new players or experiment in positions like we see Camavinga sometimes so versatile, playing all over the field. Even Jude Bellingham at times, the false nine, playing as the eight. But this is again this is Real Madrid, and as good as RB Leipzig have been, they look so much better, so much stronger than they did last year. And this is the team to beat in the competition, in my opinion. So I'm giving them the edge. Real Madrid, a team that's going to go ahead and go far again this year in the Champions League. Just had Adam. There he is. I'm going to go ahead and add him to the stage. Adam, don't worry. We
Adam.
just got done talking about Real Madrid. Don't be scared, okay? I know they scare
I
you.
didn't. No,
No worries.
I mean, as far as Real Madrid goes, I mean, we're talking about one of the most decorated Champions League squads of all time. So players like Modric and Rodrigo. It's hard to say they're not one of the top teams that are going to be competing for the final this year, along with City. So.
Well, as we all wrap up our thoughts about the RB Leipzig and Real Madrid matchup, and we all had positive things and outlooks to say our predictions towards Real Madrid. This message was sponsored by them. Yes, this was a paid ad by Real Madrid. It's exciting. That will actually go ahead and wrap up the Champions League round of 16 knockout stages team fixture by fixture. Um, we went in depth, discussed each prediction, who we went ahead and think is going to go through. I'm actually going to go ahead and actually post all of our prediction on both X and on Instagram, so we can go ahead and see them, share them with everybody. Make sure to go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comments, this video or on the Instagram post or the X post. If we have the same prediction, your thoughts on some of the questions we answered. But as we jump into the conclusion here, as we wrap things up here, the hour and 15 mark, just have a few Question for the fellas here, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. Nick, Adam, us three. We don't get to go ahead and experience the Champions League knockout uh, as fans, as AC Milan is in the Europa League and Liverpool is also in the Europa League. But Nick, not seeing Liverpool in this competition this year, a new feeling for you perhaps recently. What are you, as a third-party, non-biased fan, looking at in this Champions League?
Well, first of all, Liverpool is obviously a Champions League team missing out on the competition for 1 year. If we were in this round of 16, we people would be looking at one of our team as one of the teams to make it to the final. However, since we're stuck in Thursday, um, I'm looking for just something different. I want to see change. I want to see new winners. I want to see someone rise up, maybe even like an Arsenal this year from even my own league, because Arsenal, they've never had Champions League success, so it would be even cool to see. I think I'm gonna root for Arsenal for the rest of the tournament.
It's an interesting shout. Interesting shout. Adam, you also a Liverpool fan, not getting to see your team in this competition. As a neutral third-party fan, what are you looking at? What are you looking at in this competition?
I mean, it's definitely tough not seeing a team like Liverpool be in the Champions League, even though they're top of the table in the Prem, and they'd be competing with any one of these teams in the Champions League this year. So I'd say for me personally, I would like to see some of these more underdog teams like Real Sociedad and maybe PSV and some of these squads going through and just seeing some good goals and some good matches and just making it a little bit more interesting this year than um, you know than just having City or Real Madrid just dominating the competition. So
It's an interesting shout. Rooting for the underdogs here. Last time, I think neutral footy fans were rooting for an underdog in the Champions League. I think was that special Ajax team. So it's always exciting. Good shout, Real Sociedad and PSV, the United States of PSV. Get it right. We're coming. We're coming to take over the Champions League. Yvonne, your team is in the Champions League, so I don't want to hear it. We already heard it. We get paid by them to speak about them. But Milan, Milan's not in the Champions League anymore. We're headed to the Europa League after pretty disappointing group stages, and I think we learned a lot from this Milan side after picking up a lot of injuries. Over at Milanello, the staff needs some serious reflection on how they're approaching such a congested schedule, and I think the big question over the summer is Stefano Pioli him in going into the season, and so far we're seeing that fans are Pioli out. Although we're still in the Europa League, where we crashed out of the Champions League, Serie A title races a lot harder than it looks with both Juve and Inter, leading it. So as a neutral fan, I'm really excited for all these big fixtures. As I mentioned, the away fixtures for all the teams, the road matches they have to play. So this round of 16 is really exciting. Given if it is unbalanced and all the big teams go through, and we have some big teams in the final eight, and that'll be even more juicier. So with Arsenal, Inter, Napoli, Manchester City, Real Madrid, just some of the teams that I mentioned that can go ahead and go through. It already sounds juicy for me. But um, fellas, that is all that we had for tonight. Appreciate everyone tuning in, watching the video as we chatted Champions League, the round of 16 knockout stages. Make sure to go ahead and give us a follow, a like, and subscribe on the YouTube. Make sure to like,
Rico.
retweet. I'm sorry.
No, did you hear that noise?
No, it was probably like a. I thought you said something. Um, yeah, no, go ahead and give a like and retweet to the post, Instagram, share it with your friends. Um, this has been a fantastic episode. I'm Ricardo, biggest Inter fan, Yvonne, the biggest Barcelona fan, Nick and Adam, lovers of MLS. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and catch you on the next one.